Venus Fridays, tuning into and empowering the divine feminine from inside and out with Venus and the moon and looking at the astrology. So let's jump in. What's going on this week? So we start off right now today. The moon is in Capricorn, right? The wisdom keeper archetype, the earth grounded wisdom keeper archetype. And Venus is in Virgo, another earth archetype, but the priestess, right, who is paying attention to and gathering the information of what she sees on the earth and in the sky to help us remember to tune into the sacred. So we have a very like practical wisdom grandmother energy with the moon, and Venus priestess, earth priestess type of energy happening with these two celestial bodies. So I guess a way I'd like to think of it too is the moon is trine Venus today as well. And so that's this more flowing type of geometry between these two bodies. And so think of it as like, how can you flow with like tuning into, connecting to your own inner wisdom, inner sage, that inner crone, no matter what age you are, as well as your own inner priestess, right? Like, how do you tune into and connect into the earth, and how does that inform your wisdom, right? That kind of an energy, right? So I was just deciding if I want to say something or not, but we'll just move on. So then tomorrow, the moon moves into Aquarius. So now that's an energy, the air energy. It's about the mental realm, but consciousness, awareness on that big, big level. So think of the moon as like what pulls like on the waters of our body, our emotional body aspect. And Venus is what really empowers the feminine aspect within us. They both really do, but in different ways. So the moon moving into Aquarius, think of it as like, how can you see the bigger picture, right? How does seeing the bigger picture like help inform and help you navigate those like watery emotional realms, right? Those feminine realms. Also, the moon is conjunct Pluto today as well. And Pluto's the planet that's always helping us move towards greater empowerment. That's the beauty of Pluto, is it wants us to like clean house, do our shadow work so that we can stand in more empowerment. So remember, like when we think about like the shadow, this stuff that like we're not comfortable with, and we kind of like shoved under the rug with the dirt, that kind of a thing. That's where like all our hidden gems are. That's where like all of our power is as well. So that's why it's worth doing that excavation work. So having the moon conjunct Pluto moving into Aquarius, there's a lot of energy of like seeing the bigger picture so that we can see our gifts and move through that energy as well. Then on Sunday, Mercury and the sun are cazimi exactly together. Also, they like square Uranus. And then Venus is square Jupiter, right? All of this is on Sunday. So Sunday is like a big day of energy. So Mercury cazimi. So I like to think of when Mercury, right, our mind, our mental realm, the way we communicate, the way we get our perceptions and understanding of the world, is meeting with the sun, the planet that represents spirit in our world. So it's like getting these downloads. So I think Sunday is a really good and important day to just tune into like, what kind of downloads do you get? What kind of inspirations do you have? What is your intuition telling you? Even if it doesn't necessarily make sense or you don't understand it, it's like, just take notice, right? You don't have to do anything with it, but just let it come in, maybe jot some notes down, that kind of a thing. It's also square Uranus, which is the planet that I think of really connects us into that universal consciousness, right? It has a similar energetic art signature to Aquarius, right? That's why they're resonant together. So it's like, how do we connect like through our third eye, through our crown into the all of that consciousness, that place that our soul lives, spirit, the downloads, the intuition, you know. So this is like a particularly important day to just kind of listen, see what comes to you and what are you hearing, right? Just tuning into that. Then Venus is square Jupiter. And so that is more of this feminine, is in this like dynamic, action oriented relationship with Jupiter, the big expander, right? So, you know, what kind of action, you know, I would say it's like, it calls for action around like stepping into our feminine power even more, even just small steps, right? It's not like, oh, we're going to figure it all out on Sunday, but it's like, what's another small step that you want to expand and grow around how you stand in your feminine power? Then on Monday, we have the Aquarius full moon. And so the moon and the sun are opposite each other, the sun in Leo, the moon in Aquarius. That full moon, that energy of, you know, the full moon, I love to think of as a time of celebration, right? So when we've set our new moon intentions, where are you at with them at the full moon? Have you accomplished anything? Even if you haven't, just knowing like that intention isn't working for you, right? Those kind of things, any accomplishments, anything we want to celebrate ourselves, right? Use that Aquarius like big picture to celebrate something about yourself. I think it's so important to do that during the moon cycle. And I think the full moon is the perfect time to do that. It's also an amazing time to just like get outside. When we talk about this like Capricorn, Venus in Virgo type of energy, right? She's the one who goes out and sees the sunset and watches the moon rise, right? That's a great way to like reconnect and center ourselves, is just to take in that full moon energy visually, energetically. Also, earlier in the day, Venus is opposite Saturn. So we had Venus in a relationship with Jupiter yesterday, with Saturn on Monday. So it's like there's that expansion and contraction. Both things are happening, right? These two planets are very objective, right? They're about impacting like our real world. Like, where do we connect to the feminine, our own female empowerment in a real way, right? Where we like stand up for it, or we stand up for ourselves, or we say, hey, did you realize that's like a really patriarchal, sexist thing to say? I'm not into that, or, that kind of a thing. That's kind of like the world of Jupiter and Saturn. So that expansion and contraction, it's like the expansion, it's like, okay, what do you want to make bigger? And the contraction is like, where do you want to focus that energy, right? So the fact that Venus is in these two relationships with Jupiter and Saturn this week gives us the energy to like clearly focus, because like what is not working for us becomes really clear when Saturn's involved. And then where do we want to put the energy can become clear with both Saturn and Jupiter involved. So it's a powerful day. The moon and the sun are in the square with Uranus today, right? Like Jupiter and Saturn are in the square, and then the moon moves into Pisces. So like Monday's a big day. So just like let it be that, right? Like if Monday feels like, whoa, that's okay. Let it be. There's a lot of transition happening in astrology on Monday. So you may like feel the energetics of that. It may feel like a little tiring, or may feel like, whoa, what is going on? Like, just let that be, roll with it. And then the moon moves into Pisces. So now we move into that water feeling realm. It's an invitation for like compassion, healing, unconditional love for ourselves. So all this stuff happening on the full moon day can be really powerful to remind us to have that compassion for ourselves. Then on Tuesday, the moon meets with Saturn. So you could look for that in the early morning sky if you wake up early. And then also, wait, you know what? I haven't seen Saturn. Is Saturn in the morning sky? We'll look at stellarium in just a second. And then the moon is opposite Venus. So there's an alignment of energy between the feminine and the feminine, essentially. So that'll be like a supercharged feminine oriented day, but in that earth way. And then on Wednesday, the moon moves into Aries. So now we start to take that compassion and we want to bring it out into more action. And what are we doing with things and starting to, Aries is that sign that wants to individuate and step into its own power and then take action, and is that warrior-esque Wonder Woman type of energy. That aspect of the feminine comes alive. And then on Thursday, Venus is square Mars, so there's some tug of war kind of energy between the masculine and the feminine, and how do we make both of those parts work within ourselves? Often we need to empower the feminine and then use the masculine to take action around that. And then the sun moves into Virgo on Thursday as well. And all of this is happening around Regulus, the heart of the Lion constellation. So we're going to go look at Stellarium for a minute right now. Stellarium.org, the free astronomy software that I love, 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 because it's a way we can look at the sky together. So here is the sun and Mercury cazimi, right? We talked about that is happening on Sunday, the 18th, near Regulus, right? So I'm going to zoom in, bring this down a little so we can see here. This is all happening near this ancient royal star, the heart of the Lion constellation. That's where Virgo, this is where Leo turns into Virgo in our current time. So it's always important to remember when all these things are shifting from Leo into Virgo is that it's around Regulus, this heart of the Lion constellation. So it's like stepping into that heart-based like energy of empowerment, of that regal lion type of energy, that lion-hearted, right? We use that term. So all of that is around, like, there's a lot of energy this week around our hearts, opening our hearts, listening to our hearts, listening with our hearts, having the courage to stand in that. The shadow work we talked about with Pluto, right? All of that is in this heart realm. And then if we move to here is the day of the full moon, which we'll just zoom back out. I'll just show you all of this kind of quickly. We won't spend a lot of time here, but I'm going to turn the ground off. And here we can see, right? So here's the sun's just past or is just coming up to this red line. And here's the moon down here just coming up to the red line. So they're opposite each other in the sky. And that is the full moon. So by the time the sun is setting over here, the moon will be rising. And that's what I'm just encouraging you to get out and see. And then finally here on Thursday, the 22nd, I'm going to zoom back in. Here is the sun entering Virgo right with Regulus, right? So this is a big deal when the sun, our spirit planet, is aligned with Regulus. It's like my favorite royal star. It's my rising sign star, is so like special. So I just wanted to like show this here and just know and think about the things I've talked about and what's going on this week is a lot around this amazing heart of the Lion star. So wishing you well for this week, stepping into more empowerment around our feminine, connecting with Venus and the moon, and I will see